Newcastle's biggest game of the season has arrived. Pickford and Everton coming to St James's Park. With Newcastle potentially one win away from Champions League football, it's defining. So today let's get all the breaking news ahead of the massive game. Find out if Isak is going to be available. Discuss the massive latest Newcastle United transfer news. As per, join us as we'll break it all down.
Let's go!
So with all eyes now on Sunday's crucial clash at St James's Park, as Newcastle prepare for a high-stakes showdown with Everton that could secure Champions League football. With so much riding on this final fixture, the fitness of Alexander Isak has become the major talking point. The Swedish striker, who missed last weekend's narrow defeat to Arsenal, remains a doubt. Naturally, fans were encouraged when news broke of his inclusion in Sweden's national squad, suggesting he might be on track for a return. However, a new update from Craig Hope at the Mail has cast some uncertainty over that optimism. According to Hope, Isak's chances of featuring in Sunday's must-win game are currently rated at just 50. While being named in the national squad is encouraging, it doesn't guarantee full fitness. Isak is still being monitored closely by the club, as he continues to recover from groin tightness that kept him out of training this week. He wasn't spotted in Thursday's training photos, which only fuels speculation and concern. The good news is that talk of a potential end-of-season operation has been downplayed, and there's cautious hope that the discomfort will ease over the next couple of days. Still, with Eddie Howe likely to stay tight-lipped in his pre-match press conference, supporters may be left waiting until the team sheet is released on match day for definitive news. If Isak doesn't make it, Newcastle will need to find a way to cope without their top scorer. Callum Wilson seems the most straightforward replacement, especially as this might be his final appearance in a Newcastle shirt. Anthony Gordon is another option, possibly shifting into a false nine role to allow Harvey Barnes and Jacob Murphy to provide width. There's also Will Osula, the young Danish striker who's reportedly impressed Howe in training. But with so much on the line, a gamble on Osula feels unlikely, leaving Wilson or Gordon as the most probable choices. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the stats speak volumes. Newcastle have failed to win all 4 games Isak hasn't started this season. With Champions League qualification on the line, everyone will be hoping that he can shake off the groin issue in time to lead the line on Sunday. Despite this coming summer Newcastle United will be focusing heavily on strengthening their attacking options, with particular attention on reinforcing the forward line. Retaining the services of Alexander Isak remains a top priority, especially given how crucial his goals have been in driving the team toward European qualification. With just one more win needed to secure a place in the Champions League, likely hinging on the result against Everton, the mood at St James's Park is one of optimism. Success on Sunday would set the tone for a confident and ambitious transfer window, where manager Eddie Howe will be looking to add quality and depth to the squad. Next season brings with it the challenge of balancing domestic and European fixtures, which means Newcastle will need more firepower up front. Isak is undoubtedly the focal point of the attack, but the club recognizes the need for a reliable backup, someone capable of stepping in without compromising performance. Whether that addition comes in the form of a versatile winger who can cover central positions or a dedicated striker, all viable options will be considered to ensure the team remains competitive on multiple fronts. One name that has surfaced in transfer speculation is Victor Boniface of Bayer Leverkusen, who we had discussed. Reports had claimed that Newcastle were interested in signing the Nigerian forward, who has had a solid season in Germany and boasts a strong scoring record across several European leagues. However, those rumors have been firmly dismissed. According to The Telegraph, Newcastle are puzzled by these links and are not currently pursuing Boniface, suggesting that the player's name is being linked to the club to generate external interest and raise his market value. As Luke Edwards of The Telegraph said, Newcastle United are not currently discussing a move for Bayer Leverkusen striker Victor Boniface, and are mystified by reports they are actively pursuing the player. The German club are desperate to sell the Nigeria international, and it seems Newcastle's name being used to drum up interest. Also, despite his 11 goals this season and overall career contributions, the reality remains that any potential move to Tyneside could be complicated by the fact he would be coming in as a second-choice striker behind Isak. So as Boniface speculation cools, attention has turned even more to another emerging talent, Liam Delap of Ipswich Town. Following Ipswich's relegation, a £30 million release clause in Delap's contract has been activated, making him an accessible target for Premier League clubs. Delap's performances during his debut top-flight campaign have attracted a host of suitors, with Newcastle reportedly among those keen. TalkSport has already reported that Delap plans to meet with Newcastle and other interested clubs before deciding on his next move, indicating that the race for his signature is still wide open. Interestingly, Manchester United had been leading the chase for Delap until they missed out on Champions League football after losing a critical Europa League final match against Tottenham Hotspur. That result could shift the balance in Newcastle's favour, offering them a competitive edge in talks with Delap. European football remains a powerful draw, and with Newcastle still in contention, it might just be enough to tip the scales and bring the promising striker to St James's Park. Still, Newcastle United could soon have another opportunity to reinforce their front line as the summer transfer window approaches. While Liam Delap has emerged as a priority target, thanks to a £30 million release clause triggered by Ipswich Town's relegation, the Magpies know that signing the young striker won't be straightforward. Manchester United could still get him as they did Cunha, given they may offer massive wages, and Newcastle are aware that they may need to pivot if a deal proves too difficult to complete. In that case, another striker could be made available under similar terms. Reports suggest that Chelsea's Armando Broja will be offered to Newcastle, as the London club looks to offload several players to remain within the Premier League's financial regulations. Broja, who spent the latter half of the season on loan at Everton, has not made the impact many expected. He failed to score in 11 appearances, and the Toffees are not expected to pursue a permanent deal, making the Albanian forward available once again, likely at the £30 million mark. This isn't the first time Newcastle have shown interest in Broja. Back in 2022, before Alexander Isak's record signing, Broja was high on the club's radar following a promising loan spell at Southampton, where he scored 9 goals. Newcastle viewed him as a young, dynamic option who could provide competition for Callum Wilson and develop under Eddie Howe's guidance. It was even reported at the time that himself was keen on making the switch to Tyneside. However, Chelsea chose to keep hold of him, and Newcastle turned their focus to Isak, an outcome that clearly benefited the club. Fast forward to now, and the situation has changed significantly. Broja's career hasn't progressed as expected, with only 3 goals to his name across difficult spells at Fulham and Everton. While the potential is still there, he's no longer the hot prospect he once was. Newcastle may still consider him, especially if other options fall through, but any move would require careful thought. At this point, Broja would likely be seen as a depth option rather than a key signing to challenge Isak directly. Nonetheless, his name is back in the frame, and with Chelsea eager to sell, Newcastle could find themselves revisiting old interest, albeit under very different circumstances. Despite being offered the chance to sign the Albanian now, Newcastle have their own plan. This is because Newcastle United are making early moves in what could become one of the most competitive transfer chases of the summer, as they've reportedly made contact to sign Croatian midfielder Martin Baturina. At just 22 years old, Baturina has caught the eye with a standout season for Dinamo Zagreb, tallying 18 goal involvements in a single campaign. Valued at €25, the young playmaker represents exactly the kind of high-potential, technically gifted player Eddie Howe's side has been targeting since their rebuild began. The competition, however, is heating up quickly. Alongside Newcastle, both Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest have reportedly initiated contact, while long-term admirers Inter Milan and Fiorentina continue to monitor the situation from Serie A. Inter, in particular, have been tracking Baturina for 2 years, adding serious weight to the Croatian's growing reputation. The fact that these clubs, well known for developing midfield talent, remain interested says a lot about his potential ceiling. For Newcastle, the timing of this move feels crucial. With financial fair play guidelines tightening across the league, a £21 million investment in a player with Baturina's output and European experience could be a shrewd piece of business. It's not just about numbers either. Baturina plays with a confidence and creativity that has sometimes been lacking in Newcastle's midfield, especially during stretches where injuries to Joelinton or Willock have blunted the side's attacking momentum. What makes Baturina especially appealing is his versatility and intelligence on the pitch. He's capable of dictating tempo, threading decisive passes, and driving forward with purpose, all traits that would complement the more industrious elements of Howe's current midfield setup. If he can adapt to the physical demands of the Premier League, he could quickly become a key contributor at St James's Park. This level of ambition in the transfer market also highlights just how far Newcastle have come. Not long ago, they wouldn't have been in the running for a player with Baturina's profile, let alone competing with clubs like Inter Milan for his signature. But now, with a clear project and a return to European football on the horizon, Newcastle are not just part of the conversation, they're helping lead it. Fans will be eager to see the club act decisively here. With interest mounting, the longer they wait, the more complicated and expensive the deal is likely to become. But if Newcastle can pull this one off, it would be a strong signal of intent and another major step forward in their ambitious rebuild. Then, in defense, Newcastle United's search for a new centre-back this summer could see them revisit targets from previous windows, with Marc Guehi once again emerging as a priority. The Magpies attempted to secure Guehi in 2024, but Crystal Palace stood firm, determined to keep their captain. Despite that setback, Guehi remains firmly on Newcastle's radar, showing the club's continued interest in adding experience and leadership to their defensive line. Alongside Guehi, another defender catching Newcastle's attention is Malick Thiaw from AC Milan. According to Graham Bailey, TBR Football's chief correspondent, Thiaw is expected to be available for transfer this summer, and Newcastle remains interested. "It looks as if Thiaw will be allowed to leave AC Milan this summer," he said. "We know he is a player who Newcastle like. Eddie Howe likes him. He's a brilliant age. He's played a lot for Milan this season. Thiaw fits the criteria for Newcastle, and they are aware of the situation regarding him. Newcastle did a lot of work on him last year, so it makes sense to still be interested. Having already done significant work on Thiaw last year, it makes sense that the Magpies would keep tabs on him." Eddie Howe has openly praised the Germany international, whose age and Serie A experience make him a fitting candidate for Newcastle's squad building. While Thiaw was reportedly valued at around £35 million, he stayed put at Milan last summer. This summer, however, the door may be open for a move, offering Newcastle another chance to strengthen their defence with a player they know well and admire. On the other hand, as Newcastle have missed out on Bournemouth's Dean Huijsen, his centre-back partner, Ilya Zabarny, however, looks unlikely to leave Bournemouth anytime soon. Despite rumours of a possible £50 million price tag, Zabarny has no release clause, and with Bournemouth not pressured to sell following Huijsen's departure, he is expected to stay at the Vitality Stadium. He is not leaving Bournemouth. He has not got a release clause in his contract. Bournemouth do not need to sell, with Huijsen and Kerkez set to leave, Bailey said. This means Newcastle will need to continue exploring multiple options to secure a central defender who can provide both quality and depth for the challenges ahead. Revisiting familiar names like Guehi and Thiaw demonstrates a pragmatic approach from Eddie Howe and director Paul Mitchell, who are looking to balance experience, potential, and value in the transfer market. Then, in another development with Lewis Hall out and Livramento playing in left-back, a fresh name has emerged in Newcastle United's summer transfer plans, with Ajax's teenage sensation Jorel Hato now linked to a potential move to St James's Park. While previous targets like Dean Huijsen are Madrid-bound and Ilya Zabarny is expected to stay at Bournemouth, Newcastle appear to be widening their search for defensive reinforcements, and Hato is one of the standout talents catching their eye. At just 19, Hato is already turning heads across Europe. He has 6 international caps for the Netherlands and has made 50 appearances for Ajax in the 2024-25 season alone. His ability to operate across the backline, playing as a left-back, centre-back, and even occasionally in midfield, makes him an appealing option for any top club looking for tactical flexibility and long-term value. According to iJournalist Mark Douglas, Newcastle are firmly among the pack of Premier League clubs monitoring Hato's situation. He suggests the Magpies could go big on an experienced centre-back early in the window, but leave room for a project player like Hato towards the end. That's exactly the sort of move that would fit Paul Mitchell's profile as a sporting director known for spotting elite-level potential before the rest of the market catches on. There's just one catch. Hato wouldn't come cheap. While he fits the bill as a future-ready talent, his experience and international pedigree mean any deal would likely exceed £30 million. That could be a tough sell if Newcastle's strategy is to reserve their biggest financial outlay for a more immediate first-team starter. Still, Hato's versatility and maturity well beyond his years make him a player worth watching. If Newcastle do make a move, it would signal their intent not just to compete in the present, but to build a squad capable of sustaining success over the long term. Whether he's brought in to complement a big-name defensive signing or as a potential long-term replacement for someone like Lloyd Kelly, Hato would be a statement addition to a squad under careful construction. Then, in an exciting update, Newcastle United are poised for a potentially game-changing summer, with their transfer budget heavily influenced by the outcome of their final game against Everton. If Eddie Howe's side secures Champions League qualification with a win, the financial implications could be massive. According to iNews, the club would gain up to £100 million in Profit and Sustainability Rules (PSR) headroom, which could significantly enhance their ability to invest in top-tier talent. In practical terms, this PSR flexibility would allow Newcastle to make major moves in the market without breaching financial regulations. For example, a £100 million player's transfer fee could be spread out over a 5-year contract, effectively counting as £20 million per year against PSR calculations. This kind of accounting opens the door for multiple big-money signings, and theoretically, Newcastle could add 3 or 4 high-value players while remaining compliant. There's also the broader summer budget to consider. Should Newcastle qualify for the Champions League, that figure could swell to as much as £150 million, giving them the kind of war chest only a few Premier League clubs can boast. Such a budget would reflect not only their increased revenue from European competition, but also their growing ambition to cement a place among England's elite. However, if they fall short and miss out on Champions League football, the outlook is more restrained. In that scenario, their PSR headroom would likely be reduced to around £40 to £50 million, significantly limiting their ability to invest at the same scale. It would also mean a more cautious approach to recruitment, with the club perhaps needing to prioritize smart buys, loan deals, or sales to fund major acquisitions. Ultimately, the clash with Everton isn't just about European qualification, it could define the scale and ambition of Newcastle's summer rebuild. A win could unlock a summer of marquee signings and further elevate the club's project under Eddie Howe. Then finally, if you want Newcastle to win on the final day against Everton, please subscribe to my secret second YouTube channel.